Okay, so I had some web pages open with Safari, so I'm going to click on Safari, and I'm going to go to History and say reopen all windows from last session, so I don't have to go back to any of that stuff. So did everybody turn in their homework assignments during the break?
Dog ate mine. Did you?
Dog ate yours?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you turn on your recorder?
Yes, thank you. You don't have to turn in your homework. You reminded me about the recording. All right. So we talked about Apple TV, and it can do quite a few different things. They're adding things more and more all the time to what it can do. There's a Smithsonian channel on there that's free. Not everything is paid for. Major League Baseball, you can see clips of games. If you want to see live games, you can do a Major League Baseball subscription or an NBA subscription. So they're kind of breaking down some of those barriers on that will allow the cable cutters. There's another device called a Roku, and they're only slightly larger than the Apple TV. They're so small it's insignificant. But what a Roku, it will do more things than the Apple TV will do, and the one thing that it won't do is it won't do any of the iTunes movies or the iTunes music or AirPlay from your Mac to it. Other than that, it will do Amazon Prime, the videos from Amazon Prime. It'll do Hulu. It'll do Netflix. It'll do YouTube. And in fact, there's a lot of other channels that people are adding all the time. So it's a more versatile device. I have a Roku. I have an Apple TV. I have a Google TV. Thought I had one more. Anyway, I use the Apple TV more than anything. The interface is real nice. I don't use my Roku that much. I use it for some podcasts. But the Roku, you pay, like the Apple TV, you pay one time for the Apple TV, $99. You don't pay ongoing unless you have a subscription to Netflix or something. Same thing with the Roku. You pay for the device. It hooks to your internet either with a cable or with Wi-Fi. And you pay for some of the stuff, but on Roku there's a ton of free stuff out there too. The differences in the Roku, the LT, the HD quality, then a little bit higher, and the Roku 3. The Roku, so here you can see the way the breakdown is of all these devices. I have an older Roku because at the time I had a TV that didn't have HDMI connections, and it has the old style connections. But basically with Roku, the more you pay, the more features you get. One thing really cool about the Roku 3, which is fairly recent, you have a little remote control, and you use that to control Angry Birds that comes free with the Roku. It's pretty cool. Another really neat thing, and if you look here, remote headphone jack. So think about this. You're sitting in the bed, or you're in your living room, and you have trouble hearing the TV and you don't want to disturb anyone else. Your wireless remote has a headphone jack in it. And you can listen privately to what's going on your TV. So you could you can have the TV on, or you can turn the volume down on the TV, but you still are hearing from your Roku through this. Now, when you switch to your cable box, it won't come this way. This is only when you're using Roku content. Roku content. That's kind of hard to say. So that's with the 3, and that's a pretty neat deal. Go ahead.
Does that only works on the TV that it's connected to? You can't make it go to any other television?
Yes, you can. Just like with the Apple TV. Unplug it. Walk to the other TV and plug it. But you know what? No, it brings up a very good point, because the Apple TV and the Roku have 2 cords. One's HDMI and one's power. So for my bedroom, because it's connected by Wi-Fi, right? So if I get a second power cord and a second HDMI cable, I simply take this little box and take it over here, plug in the cables. Now it's on that TV. So it was a great question, and it really does work. But you can have multiple ones also. So, but it's no problem if you want to just have one like that. So, and again, like I say, Apple TV is the same way.
And so anything that you pay the fee to Roku per year.
No. You pay one time to Roku. You buy the device.
Okay, now I'm thinking of through Roku.
If you use Netflix, you pay per month.
And anything that you get through Roku, an extra thing like Netflix or
Hulu Plus
those are all
or Amazon Prime, but there's a ton of free content too. There really is. HBO Go, I mean, Roku is the one out there, they're the Google. They're going out and they're just grabbing all this content and making it available to build their brand. And Apple TV has a little bit different model because they have to monetize that with having people buy different things. So it's a little bit more of a tighter, a closed group, I should say. Now, we talked, go ahead.
So does it matter if you, I have one of the older ones that does have an HDMI.
Older Roku?
Uh-huh. Does it have as much free content as the newest one?
Yes. Because the content, but you want to update it.
How do you
You just go into your settings and go over to update, and it'll update the software. Apple TV does the same thing. But who here has a Blu-ray player hooked to their TV? The majority of Blu-ray players either have Wi-Fi or a hardwire Ethernet connection, or you can add them to it. But here's the deal. If you're buying one, make sure you get one that's Wi-Fi. Because the Blu-ray players, if they're Wi-Fi, you connect them to your network, and they do essentially what Roku does. You've got Netflix, you've got Hulu, different things like that. Your Blu-ray player becomes a similar smart box. Also, there's smart TVs. Well, you know, people pay $100 extra to have all this stuff on their TV, and you don't need to, because you're going to get a Blu-ray player anyway. And don't pay the extra for the smart TV, because you can get an Apple TV, you can get a Blu-ray player, or you can get a Roku that stands alone, and it'll give you the same content to your TV. And inevitably, the TVs have the worst interface with trying to work with these things. The Blu-ray players are the next better, then Roku, then Apple TV. And the thing is though, what you should search around for, do you have an iPhone or an iPad? Do you have the Roku app on your iPhone or your iPad? Instead of that little remote that's clumsy to use, and when you go to a place where it's going to have you type in a search or something, get the Roku app. It's free on your iPhone or your iPad, and now you have a real keyboard instead of moving the cursor up and down and left and right and everything else. Same with the Apple TV. It has a little app called Remote, and it's free from Apple. And that way, when you go to YouTube and you want to search for basket full of flowers, instead of going up, down, left, right, dip, dip, I got to go back, I re-screwed that up, you type it in with your keyboard. It's called Remote, and it's free from Apple for the Apple TV. It's Remote. And then the other one is for Roku. It's just search under Roku in the App Store. But many of the DVD players, the smart DVD players, the Sonys have their own app for smart TVs and for that. It's so much easier to use it. Panasonic has it. Samsung has it. They have apps for the iOS devices that allow you to control it so much better than that. I have a new stereo receiver, which all my, it's not just for audio now. All my HDMI comes into that. I have an app on my iPhone where I can turn, my receiver's got Wi-Fi. Or actually, it's got hardwired. But anyway, I can turn my receiver on and off. I can change the volume up and down. I can be in the other room because it's all over my all my network. So it's really amazing the amount of stuff you have with an iOS device. Question here first, then you.
Okay. Are you telling me that if I got the Apple TV, now I have Ubers,
Okay.
and I have 3 of them, but I seldom watch television. I'm just not
Okay.
a TV watcher. But I'm paying for all the stuff I got. Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
If I get an Apple TV, I wouldn't have to subscribe to all that stuff that I get?
No, I didn't say that. So that's the problem. Apple TV is not a replacement for your pay TV type stuff.
Okay.
It doesn't, you're not going to go find Channel 3 on there. It's not a live TV situation. You're going to find Netflix and you're going to find Hulu. But see, remember, it's a connection to the TV. It's kind of like if The Sound of Music is coming up on a TV station, you'd watch it through your TV box to there. But you can always get the DVD, The Sound of Music, and play it that way, or you could download it or stream it. But it doesn't replace the TV channels. I mean, that's the holy grail, and we think we're going to get there very soon. So we had a question here next.
You start recording.
Yes, I did. Thank you. She already got extra points for it. You don't get any extra points for it, Winnie.
This Apple TV remote is on the App Store.
Yes, it's just called Remote. And it's a little blue circle with a little play triangle. It's just called Remote, just simply Remote. And it's great. And then you need to make sure your phone is on your same Wi-Fi network as your Apple TV. And you need to sign into your iTunes Apple ID account. No, once it's signed in, but you got to be on it because otherwise it doesn't know to control it. So we had some other, go ahead.
I was just going to tell her, at Costco, you can buy one of those AMF antennas, that plastic thing that just goes on the wall. And you can pull in all the...
Depends on what part of town you're in. And that's only the broadcast channels, though.
Yeah.
So the HD, believe it or not, the HD TV you get over the HD antennas are better than you'll get from any other provider. It is full 1080i. It's incredible, 1080p. It's full HD, and it's really good. Actually, you get 2 channels of channel 3, you get 2 channels of channel 6, 3 channels of 10, etc. I'm out in Rancho Cordova, and I can get a few of them, but it's really good. See, you're closer because the towers are down by Twin Cities Road, down by Walnut Grove.
Quick question. I like the idea of using Blu-ray player as a smart box,
Uh-huh.
but I doubt that I don't have an HDMI connection to my TV, and I imagine that Blu-ray players are pretty much moved past where I am.
Not necessarily. Do you have the red, green, blue? Do you have the component attachments?
Yeah.
So he brings up a good point, and it's been tough to find. I have a client who has a TV that doesn't have they have one HDMI, and we're already using that for Apple TV because it's the only choice. By the way, Roku's, some of them come with, that's called component out, red, green, blue, and then red and white audio. The old RCA type plugs. There are some Blu-rays out there that use component, and they're still smart. And this was a struggle. We finally found one for her. I think it was a Panasonic, because she wanted Blu-ray, we wanted Wi-Fi, and we needed component. And they're pretty rare. But
they exist.
They're out there, yeah. You know where you search is Amazon, and feel free to email me and remind me that you're looking for that. And unfortunately, the first one she got from Amazon it was used, and it was sold as new, so she sent that back. The next one came, it was used, but it worked just fine. And I don't even know if they're making them so much anymore because it's so much cheaper. Part of the deal is this whole licensing thing. HDMI has built-in licensing. Component is not licensable, so they want to get rid of those because you're a criminal and you're going to use it to copy movies. All right. Let's look here. Okay. New Prime, CBS, NBC, Apple TV, Roku, Smart TV, and Blu-ray. We've covered all of those devices kind of things. And again, don't forget, we're just talking about a whole other box that hooks to your TV. So don't think that what it does is magic, but it's just another connection to your TV.
That's kind of my question. With an Apple TV, you can access all of these movie providers. You can use a remote. What does Roku do that Apple TV can't?
It gets Amazon Prime movies and a whole bunch other content that's not available on Apple TV. But most of that content is free content that's just kind of, things that you may, it's kind of like on the satellites, you got all these other channels, you never even care what's on them. It's kind of like that. But podcasts and things, the Apple TV, if you're going to have one device and you're going to use Netflix and Hulu and some of the other few things, get the Apple TV, because all of a sudden your iPad and your iPhone and your Mac are being able to be displayed on your TV wirelessly. If you're not concerned about displaying that stuff up there, and believe me, I can go to YouTube on my iPad and then say, oh, display this on my TV instead. Instead of going into the Apple TV or going into the Roku, going to YouTube, searching for, beautiful basket of flowers blooming in time-lapse photography or whatever, and I just have it there and boom, I press it up to it. Okay?
You do that with a remote program?
Yeah, there's a whole, when the new Apple TV thing comes out, we'll probably go through it, but yeah, the remote is just a way to, you don't have to have the remote app to have your iPad show on your Apple TV. It's called AirPlay and home sharing, believe it or not.
Do you need those surge protectors for these things?
Since they're all going to be around your TV, the best thing is to have a good surge protector, to be honest, with your computer and with your home devices like that. Better than a surge protector, get a backup battery. Because the backup battery, if your home is more than 20 years old, you get little slow pots and brownouts and different things like that. That's hard on these devices. So the built-in, these little backup batteries, you can get them for $50 or under. You plug everything into it, and it helps condition the power a little bit. But yeah, always a surge protector. Depends on the age of your house, really. Or I should say the age of your wiring, because some people rewire their homes. Okay. We're going off of TVs, and we're going to go to phones. Who here currently has an iPhone? I should have said, who doesn't? Okay. Of those, who are considering an iPhone? Okay. The rest of you can leave. The iPhone. First of all, I have to say, it was introduced January 9th, 2007 on my birthday. And it's changed my life, and it's not an overstatement. It's changed my life dramatically. This is not a phone. It's a computer that's more capable than my MacBook Pro, and it happens to make phone calls. Oh, and by the way, it's the best iPod ever invented. Does anybody know what the best camera in the world is?
iPhone.
No, the one you have with you. So if I'm out shooting my sunsets with my big camera, that's the best camera in the world right then. But most of the time, this sits right here on my hip. So I now have the best camera in the world, and it's a fantastic camera. I go to FedEx a package. I take a picture of it at the FedEx place to prove that it wasn't damaged when I shipped it. I'm in Costco, and I want to remember the dimensions of this throw rug. I take a picture of that. Yeah, I also take really neat pictures outside, and actually when I'm shooting my sunsets and my sunrises with my big camera, or if I'm in Zion National Park, I always take one picture with my iPhone when I'm taking my other pictures, because it not only timestamps it, but it GPS locates it, so I can go back and say, oh yeah, I was there that day, and that's what the GPS location is, because it has GPS in it. This thing does so much, and it's getting more and more and more. Now, just like printers, it's not how much the printer costs, it's how much the consumables and the ink cost. And those of you that have seen my classes, I can show you how to make money printing with certain printers, where you make more money turning the cartridges in than the cartridges cost. But the phones are the same situation. The business model for the phones in the US, not the rest of the world, is we will sell you an iPhone. We're talking AT&T, Verizon, Sprint at this point right now, because that's the main carriers that were carrying the iPhone up till now. The iPhone, we'll talk about the current version, the iPhone 5. We think the iPhone 5S will come out in a little bit. We'll talk about that briefly. But the iPhone 5 can be purchased right now. And I'm not saying go do it today, because we got something coming up September 10th. But The iPhone 5, you go purchase for $199. But Ken, they're going to make me sign a 2-year contract. Okay, what, you're not going to use the phone once you get it? You're going to need a carrier somehow. I was a non-contract person. Until the iPhone came out, I had not been under a contract for over 9 years because I was waiting for the perfect phone to come out. Well, I waited long enough, 9 years, and finally it came out. And since then, I've been on contract with AT&T. But I pay $199 for this phone. AT&T pays Apple $650 for this phone. That's why they require you to have a 2-year contract. They're subsidizing the price of your phone. Okay? So, by the way, this iPhone 5, about 2 weeks from now, that I paid $199 for, I will be able to sell for nearly $400. No, not on the street corner, not anything untoward. People want to buy them, not on a contract. They want to buy them and take them overseas and put them on a carrier there, different things, because it's not tied to a contract. They'll pay that kind of money for it. So iPads don't retain that kind of value because there's no contract involved. iPhones retain that value. If you have an iPhone 4S, I bet you can get about $200 for it. And consequently, how much does the new phone cost under contract? About $200. But the ongoing cost of the contract is what's expensive. There are some new carriers out there. They call them, and I got to explain how the whole cell phone thing works. There's 3 main carriers: Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. They have side brands. Did I forget one?
You said 3, the big 4.
There's 3 main. Well, Sprint, actually, because Sprint, they didn't do the iPhone kind of originally. But anyway, our T-Mobile was just the recent addition. Thank you.
We were just having a chuckle.
No, I like it. There's 4, 3.
I was shocked, we said we went amok in Nevada 2 weeks ago, my friend and I. Sprint would not work, and they told me at the hotel that the only service that works is AT&T.
And that's surprising. Let's talk about coverage. Let's talk about coverage for a second. It's usually Verizon is the one that covers everywhere. Okay, so Verizon and Sprint use what's called CDMA network. Cellular distributed, blah blah. Anyway, that's a certain kind of phone. AT&T and T-Mobile use what pretty much the rest of the world uses, which is called GSM. His works. He's got coverage.
Just recorded.
Yeah. He must not be an AT&T if it gets coverage. Anyway, so they use different things. GSM is what the worldwide standard is. T-Mobile and AT&T use that here. China Mobile, the biggest carrier in the world, uses similar to what the Sprint and Verizon is, this old CDMA, TDMA. They're an older type technology, but in fact they cover the dead zones well. The only weird thing is, with Sprint and Verizon, I cannot be on the phone talking to someone and access the internet because it's one or the other. But if I'm on the internet and a phone call comes in, it will cut my internet off right then and the phone call will come through. And I always say in my classes that I say, well, on AT&T, you just can't make any phone calls at all because there's no coverage. It's getting better. But AT&T actually has really fast data. And believe it or not, my AT&T data speeds on my iPhone in certain spots where I have LTE exceed what I get from Comcast. Wicked fast. That's the future. But the carriers were based on a contract model because they want to lock you in for the 2 years so they give you a better price on the phone. Well, the rest of the world doesn't operate that way. The rest of the world, you pay $650 for the phone. And actually, there's proof, in fact, that AT&T and Verizon pay $650 for this phone because when you go buy this phone from AT&T and Verizon, you're going to pay $50 in tax based on the full unsubsidized price. Only California and 2 other states is that way, but because they need all this money. But Believe it or not, if you buy it at Walmart, they only charge you the subsidized price on the tax and Sam's Club, and I don't know how they do it, but great. So, the new thing is being able to buy a phone. I have a client who the iPhone 5 had not been out yet, but he got a 4S and put it on Virgin Mobile, and he pays $30 a month. He has like 200 minutes, but he has plenty of text and plenty of data, and it's using the Sprint network. But he paid $450 for the phone, I believe. Not because it was already, because the 5 was coming out, they had reduced it. But if you pay around $550, $600 for the phone, you don't go under contract and you have a choice of other carriers. These other carriers like Virgin Mobile, Metro PC, well, Metro PCS is a little different situation. Gosh, I can't even think of all the MVNOs. I just took pictures of some of them. Net 10, Straight Talk. They're what's called MVNOs. Mobile Virtual Network Operators. And what that means is they buy a bunch of minutes from Verizon or from Sprint, minutes or data from them, and they resell it. They're responsible for the billing and all that other stuff. So what it does is these other carriers, it gives them a way that people, we're still going to get that business even though we've got the high price model. These other people can have it. You can get down to $30 or $35 a month with some of these for your iPhone. Those of you on AT&T and Verizon and Sprint, you're probably paying $80 or more for a month's worth of service.
80,
On an iPhone?
80 at a minimum.
80 at a minimum. Are you paying less?
I think so.
Who's your carrier?
Sprint and unlimited data, so.
And you have a family plan?
Yeah, well, there's 2 of us, yeah.
And,
The employee discount thing, but I think it's like $60 a month.
well, maybe 6.
No, it's 75, it's about 150 a month.
Right, but see,
For
the
2.
first one's the expensive one, the second one's a little less.
Yeah, that's true.
So the first one, me as a single person, there's no way I get by with any of that. But if I take my phone and I go to T-Mobile, I can get by for under $50 a month. Go ahead.
Our family plan is $48.50, distributing it out evenly between all of us.
Right. How many of them are iPhones?
All of them.
Okay. On who?
All but one. One of them has.
On
a
what carrier?
Sprint.
Okay. Sprint's got a pretty good job on that. But they charge you so that, but you have to go and use their calculators because it's all where it falls in. But again, just remember there's other players now. So Clark Howard, who's a more frugal person than me, he's saying this is not the right time to get under contract with cell companies because the landscape's changing dramatically. So it's tough. There's going to be a new iPhone coming out. Because of you guys, I have to get the newest one when it comes out. I mean, I have to make sure that I have to make sure that I get the newest phone when it comes out. Well, I'm kind of lucky. I sacrificed my 89-year-old mom in that case because we're on a family plan, and I have a little SOS phone for her, so I get to upgrade every year. Yeah. Because this time I'm upgrading her phone availability. Then a year from now I do mine. So, and actually, speaking of that, since elderly people, I got to tell you, I got a really cool phone for my mom. It was $69 at Fry's. It's by a company called Just 5, Just 5. It's a simple phone. It's very light. You could wear it around your neck as a pendant. It doesn't have long battery life. It's not got any features on it, except it's got an SOS button on the back. I press and hold the SOS button for 3 seconds. It lets out a shriek, so it's a panic alarm, right? But my mom is old enough, I've fallen, I can't get up kind of thing. It will call 911, and it will immediately become a two-way speakerphone. Without her, you fall and you can't get up, you're not going to hold your phone up to your ear and then go over by the window because you get a good reception because it's on AT&T. But it works great, and it's just right on, it's in place of a regular phone, and it works as a regular cell phone. We pay no extra monthly fee, it's just her on the family plan, which is like $10 a month extra on the family plan, and it's a great phone. Just 5 is what it is. Oh, and it also, you can set it to send 5 pre-done text messages to 5 different people. So my brother and I can get a text message that says, "Hey, there's been an incident on this phone. Check with her." But it's really cool because it's I've fallen, I can't get up, and it's a 2-way speakerphone. So you could wear it around here because those I've fallen, I can't get up things. They're $30-$40 a month for monitoring. So you had a question?
Regarding the T-Mobile
Uh-huh.
and the arrangement with Verizon, they buy, you said, a bunch of data.
Oh, the MVNOs.
Yeah.
T-Mobile is their own carrier. T-Mobile is not an
I
MVNO.
think Walmart does.
Walmart has what's called Straight Talk.
Yeah, straight up.
Think what you want about Walmart politics. Sorry, I'm a shareholder and I love it. But they offer MVNOs. They offer Straight Talk Wireless, and they're on T-Mobile, they're on Sprint, they're on Verizon, and they're on AT&T. So it depends on what phone you get.
I saw them going there, but yesterday I did research it. iPhone 5.
Yeah, I think
Camera.
yeah, for iPhone 5, right now it's at $98. I'm sorry, $99 at Walmart, $98 at Sam's Club. And you can get the Straight Talk SIM cards with, that's on 2-year commitment though.
Right.
Otherwise, you buy the phone outright and you can put it on Straight Talk and you can get as low as $35 a month for 2.5 gigabytes of data. $549, but then you don't have a 2-year contract. Plus, instead of spending $80 a month, you're spending $35 a month. And when you do the math, it works out to buy the phone outright.
But the access is the same?
It depends. Now, it depends on what. Yeah. So if you get it and you put in AT&T, if they're using the Straight Talk uses the AT&T, you're going to have the same crappy coverage AT&T has already. If it's a Verizon one, it'll be the good Verizon coverage.
You told me it was Verizon.
On the iPhone?
Yeah.
Great. Because the iPhone 5 from Verizon is the best phone to go worldwide. Because it comes with the SIM card unlocked. If you go spend a month in Europe, you just go over there to one of the little telephone kiosks and you buy a little SIM card from over there and you're buying their data and stuff. So, but I want to point out this other new thing you've probably seen some ads for. T-Mobile Jump and AT&T Next, and Verizon's supposed to have something else. Instead of buying your phone outright, you can make monthly payments on it. These don't pencil, but I want to point them out because what happens is that, like with AT&T, I can do a down payment, nothing down. So this is if I want to walk in. But technology's changing all the time, and your phone is going to be dated a year from now, unless you're in a lucky situation like me where you can update it every year. Let's say you want to get a new iPhone every time a new iPhone comes out. You still have a contract with AT&T, but what happens? You pay nothing down. You don't pay the $35 fee. You make 20 monthly payments. This is in addition to what you're already paying for the service, okay? So you make 20 payments of $32.50. So over a year's time, you've paid $390, or actually over 2 years' time, you've paid the full price of the phone that you would buy it outright, okay? So they're financing it for you for free. And you can update your phone in 12 months, though. But the problem is you give them your phone. Remember, we can sell our phones for about $400. So you got to kind of weigh that. T-Mobile's has it a little different. They pay a $146 down payment, 24 payments, and they add this to the bill, and it actually adds up to more. But you can upgrade every 6 months if you want. Realistically, I tell people when you buy, whether it be a Mac, especially iOS devices and iPhones, don't look at what you need today, look what you're going to need 2 years from now, because that's kind of what your contract is. And to be honest, right now, the iPhone 4S is still a great viable phone because it has Siri. How many here have an iPhone 4 or older? Not a 4S, but an iPhone 4 or older. Okay, why? Don't have Siri though.
I'm waiting.
You're waiting, good. So iPhone 4S, how many have an iPhone 4S? Okay, well I know yours got lost. So. iPhone 5? iPhone 5S? iPhone 5C? So the idea is we think there's two iPhones coming out, a 5S and a 5C. The 5C will probably be a polycarbonate phone, and it will probably be a less expensive phone. So instead of $650, it may be in the $400, $450 range. And that's very important for the rest of the world and also kind of important here. But it's also because Apple is about ready to sign the two largest cell phone carriers in the world, Domoco in Japan and the China cellular one, which will have huge. And they really need a price point phone. Not a cheap phone, but somewhere in the middle because they don't do the contracts over there. So that would be huge for that. The other thing is, how many here are in password hell all the time?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Good. You just gave up?
I got one pass.
Yep, good. One pass, last pass, some of those. In the new iOS, and we think in Mavericks, and they're still going to roll it out, we think all your passwords are going to sync across all your devices. But the best thing is, and the biggest thing that's going to be, well, there's two things coming up in the new stuff. First, if you have an iPhone 4S or newer, you're going to be able to run the new iOS operating system, and there's a thing called verification lock. You've heard about these stories in these municipalities where people are getting their iPhone stolen and they're getting hurt, they're getting all, I mean, it's a very bad crime thing. It's called apple picking, believe it or not. Because there's such high resale value, remember, not only is this paid $650, this is worth $400 on the open market. By next month, this will have no value on the aftermarket if it's been stolen or lost. Because of verification lock. What verification lock means is, with my Apple ID, if I ever lose it, I say, lost my phone. It wipes the phone. It also, if the person doesn't have your Apple ID username and password, they cannot shut the phone off, so you can still track it. They cannot erase the phone, they can't activate the phone, and they go into Apple or they go into AT&T and it says verification lock. Supposedly, even Apple can't activate it at that point. The phone now has no aftermarket value. So it's the same as having a cheap little $20 phone. They're not stealing those. I'm sure Apple is going to advertise it heavily because, excuse me, thank you, because that's going to be a huge thing. And we know Google's working on one with their Android too. But that's a great thing for us because, you know, I'm places and I don't like to have my phone out exposed. And I'm a pretty big guy. I'm not going to get hassled. But I can't imagine what it'd be like thinking all the time, you know, they're going to steal my $600 phone.
Is it true that Apple's going to have your fingerprint?
That's the next thing I was going to get to. So we talked about password hell. About 16 months ago, Apple bought a company called Authentic. When I read that, I said, we're going to have fingerprint recognition on our phones. I really didn't think it was going to come out now. I thought it would be a whole nother year, but every indication is that you will have a fingerprint reader on your home button. And we think it might even do more than that. But ideally, think about this. You go to a website and you don't have to put in your password. You swipe your fingerprint and it logs you into that website. I'm not guaranteeing it. Indications are there that it'll be there. And actually think about that on your laptop. Same thing. I mean, it really will make a difference. So, borrow her finger too. You can probably set it up for multiple people and you just have to, because it's essentially like records your fingerprint. Now, we've all watched those movies where the computer thing that's behind the screens and they got the little panel they put their hand on and they chop somebody's hand or finger off and put it up there. It senses blood behind your finger. Anybody here ever used an oximeter so you can test your oxygen and your pulse? That's a little light, right?
Yeah.
Little caveat to that, if you have one of these oximeters you put in your finger. Good friends of mine are vets. They clip it on the tongue of the dog or cat is how they get the readings in the vet hospitals. It doesn't hurt, it just sits there and they get a great reading that way. But it can sense behind the scenes, and that'll be a big deal. So we don't know. It's fraught with a lot of things. I have a lot of people bring up, hey, I don't have much of a fingerprint and stuff, but if Apple does it, they'll do it right. But that and that verification lock will really make this very secure. Because the other thing is, in the near future, you're going to be buying a lot of stuff with this. Because with what's called this Bluetooth 4 and this low energy Bluetooth, you could simply go up to, first of all, you could scan your own groceries, and then you walk by the register and it pays for you. Because it's got a GPS, and it's got this little Bluetooth thing, the register could have it. I take credit cards from my clients all the time with this. Starbucks, now you don't even have to take it. If you've signed up in there and you have your phone, it senses that you're at a Starbucks, and it communicates with their Square register and says, oh, and I don't go to Starbucks, but it would say, Ken Spencer, yeah, okay, what do you want? And should we put that and charge it? And it gets charged on your Starbucks card right on your phone, and you don't even have to take it out of your pocket. That's the future. But that's why these need to be very secure, because what happens if I happen to leave it somewhere or it gets stolen? I can lock it down. You can also find it.
Can they, like credit cards with a chip that you have to put in aluminum, can they scan that in airports?
That's called an RFID. No, these don't have an RFID, and it actually is doing it a lot differently, and it uses a couple of things. It uses your GPS locator, and it will use this small Bluetooth thing, but also the authenticator will be that. So Authentech is the company Apple bought, and they're really, really, really good.
Ken, do you think you'll have the lockdown on the Bossmac, the portable computer?
Probably not, but I don't know. I mean, I'm still, I'll be blown away if it's on this phone. I really am, because it just seems too quick. Because Apple doesn't put something else unless it works. Oh, by the way, and in the fall, those of you, Siri is my girlfriend, and I'll let you use Siri whenever you want. You're welcome to use her, but there'll be a male voice available for Siri too, so you can have a male voice. Home phone. Who here still has wired home phone service? Okay. There's only a couple reasons to keep wired home phone service if you want it. One is if you have an alarm system that won't support internet phone. And second, if you really want to make sure you have good 911 because it is locked to your address. Otherwise, there's a lot of great things out there. You can get free, unlimited long distance and things. I'm just going to touch on a couple of these. Magic Jack is one. If you travel internationally, Magic Jack's kind of neat because I have a Magic Jack at my house. I don't really use it, but I'm able to put the Magic Jack app on my phone, and anywhere I have an internet connection, it's like I have a 916 phone number. I can be in Bolivia, and as long as I'm on the internet, I can make a over-the-internet phone call on my Magic Jack app and call back here for free. So the other one is Ooma, O-O-M-A. This is a device. They're about $150, and it's unlimited long distance in the U.S., unlimited local calling, great voicemail. Consumer Reports rated it the best in phone voice quality of even the old copper hardwire, and I pay $3.60 a month for it, which is, believe it or not, just the taxes. Ooma used to not even charge that. So you calculate, I think it was $371. That's only the taxes. You pay for the device one time, about $150. You hook it up to your internet. You have great call quality. You record this phone to it, and you make all the calls you want. And you've only paid for the device, and then, like I say, you pay $3.70 a month, which is exclusively taxes. It's very, very good.
Do you know WhatsApp?
I'm sorry?
Do you know of WhatsApp?
Yeah, WhatsApp is an app that can do texting and things like that. The other person has to have WhatsApp also, though. That's the
Yes,
problem.
and it's totally free, and it's the only way that I can communicate with my daughter in Europe. And
Does-
she put it on my phone.
Does she have an iPhone?
She has not an iPhone,
She has an Android?
maybe.
Yeah, but you could use Skype also.
You can if you need to do the visual thing, but it
No,
requires-
Skype does audio also.
That's true, yeah.
And if it's iPhone to iPhone or iPhone to iPad, in the new OS, you'll be able to do voice-only calls on FaceTime too, by the way. And they're free. So anyway, somebody had a question on Uma here?
So that if you made a 911 call through Uma, give an
No,
address?
it'll actually, what happens when you register with Uma, you put in your address. And so let's say you have a house here and you have one at Tahoe. You took the Uma with you, then you switch it to the other address and it doesn't. No, it's fine, but it's a little bit iffy for the alarm thing. I'm not going to let my mom, she has an alarm system and I want 911 to be solid for her. I'm not going to get rid of the copper because when the storm hits and everything else, otherwise, these devices are only as good if you have a battery backup. The nice thing with Uma, though, is I can program it. Let's say I have an internet outage or it's out for some reason. I can tell it anytime somebody calls my Uma number to either call my cell phone or I can tell it to call a landline or anything else if Uma happens to be down. So you really don't lose anything in that regard. But it's great. And if someone has an Uma in Europe, Uma to Uma is free.
Is that an app?
No. They do have an app. It's a device. It's a device. It's a home phone. Comcast will sell you home phone now. AT&T, Uverse will sell you. AT&T's trying to not service. AT&T and SureWest are trying to get rid of that copper wire because it's the most expensive thing for them to maintain. So, it's kind of what it is.
Where is the company? How do these guys make their money, Ken?
Selling you the device. And, so Clark Howard, I put it off because a long time ago I bought a VoIP phone that was called Sun Rocket. I think I had it for 16 months or something. I paid a one-time fee like $100. Well, their business model didn't work. But you know what? Over that time, I saved a lot of money, so I did it. Uma, I waited long enough, but you know what? They've just raised their prices on their devices. You can get them for $129. There's some unique things in the phone business also, believe it or not. Magic Jack makes, Magic Jack, you pay $29 a year, or $19.95 or $29 a year, depending on which one it is. But like my phone, that's the Empower Mac phone number is on that, and it is a phone. It's a phone number in Diamond Bar. Since it's a rural phone company, every time they handle a call, they get money from AT&T. So that's how these kind of phone things. There's these weird little behind-the-scenes things that make them work. And I trust it. And the worst thing that happens, okay, your home phone bill. Let's just say it's $30. I know most of you have more than $30 for just your home phone right now. Let's just say it's $30. Okay, $30 in 4 months. 5 months. You've paid off your Uma. So if it lasts 5 months, you're even. If it lasts longer than 5 months, you're ahead of the game.
Can you send a fax?
You can through the Uma. Yeah, I had a challenge because I had some other ones, and I rarely have to send a fax, but when I do need to, I go with this, and it works quite well. The newer fax machines work better. Older fax machines don't work quite well on that, and it really actually has to do with what's called analog. The old phone lines, when you heard all our internet stuff travels in these things called packets, and it's a little tough for a fax. But yeah, I have been very successful with faxing on my Uma, and that's actually the main reason I got the Uma, because I use my cell phone or Google Voice for most calls. If you have AT&T or Verizon or Sprint and you don't have good coverage at your house, they make a little thing called a microcell. It connects to the internet and becomes a mini cell phone tower at your house. And your call from your cell phone goes through that. Your phone has to get registered with it one time, and then it goes through the internet. So you have your own little mini cell phone tower. Consequently, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T offer a wireless home phone. I had a client, it's crazy, he got one of those microcells, he set up, it was great guy, but the guys at AT&T said, Well, you know what? If you take this little device, which I'm going to give you for free, or no, you pay $20 for it one time, and you put it at your house, and I'll save you $40. It was like a carnival barker because he paid for this. So first of all, he's in there because he gets very bad cell phone coverage at his house, whether it's AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, doesn't matter. So he's trying to boost that signal. So obviously he has really low reception at his house. So now he's trying to sell him this device that uses the AT&T signal to route all his home calls through. Okay. And then it's going to magically save $40. He forgot to explain that the only way it saves him magically $40 is that he has to cancel his hardwired home phone service. Okay? That part of the equation, I don't know how it was maybe lost somewhere anyway. So those things work pretty well if you have good coverage. And what they actually do is, it's a little box, and it's just like a cell phone, and they're like $20 a month for unlimited calls or something like that. Oh, by the way, and this thing had a monthly fee, and the guy told him it didn't. So, go ahead.
Just to share, my daughter and son-in-law just moved to a new apartment.
Uh-huh.
Floor one, or fourth floor down to one, and cell phones with AT&T didn't work at all. I mean, it was just ridiculous. We kept wandering all over the.
Yeah, standing, leaning. And
Yes, out in the hall, you know, anything. But they did call AT&T and complain because they said, this is how we communicated. And so they went over to AT&T and they got one of those.
Microcell?
Yep, and it was free.
Ah, good point. Okay.
Okay?
And it works great, right?
It works great.
And then if you go visit and you have AT&T, you just need to, it can support up to 5 phones. You log your phone into it and then you're fine.
Exactly.
So the microcell from AT&T, from Verizon, from Sprint, it connects it over the internet. And in this case, like I have a couple clients in Gold River. One client had their re-roofed, and they put that foil-backed insulation on it, and it made it a Faraday cage, so they didn't get signals at all. So these microcells are usually $200, or they're $100, or they're free. Pick what you want, but it really depends on who you talk to and how long you've been a customer and things like that. They're doing more and more like this, and the reason they give you this for free is they don't want to lose you as an AT&T customer because they know it's so much per month. You know, these companies are getting a little bit better about realizing that it's expensive to go get new customers. Let's spend a little money keeping our existing customers. And microcells are wonderful if you have bad cell phone reception at your house.
Do they have a monthly fee?
No, I'm sorry, good question. No monthly fee on that, but there's actually a way, if they make you pay for it, you can actually get some reductions other places. But you know, if you talk long and hard enough, and even with AT&T, there's an app called Mark Your Spot. If you keep getting bad reception, you can find, hey, look, I'm not, you know, and I just had another client who, his girlfriend visits quite a bit. She's been with AT&T forever. In fact, she bought him the AT&T phone, but it's on his account. He hasn't been with him very long, so I said, well, when you go in there, use her account name, even though she lives somewhere else where she doesn't need it at her house. But in fact, he is a fairly new customer, was able to get it even just on his account and set it up. The trick with them, though, is you can't go put this thing in a closet because it has to see the GPS satellites because that's how it gets its 911. It has to make sure that it's where it is. So that's just a setup deal. But they've gotten better. I used to have to spend an hour setting them up for people. A lot of people are able to self-activate them now pretty easily.
Just to be clear, you get your micro from the provider you have, or is there somewhere else?
No, it's from, you get it from your AT&T, Verizon, or Sprint, and you can usually get it for free. But it's only if you have bad cell phone reception at your house. Now, if you have a long, sprawling house, this little microcell is limited with how much power it can put out. So you're going to want to put it kind of centralized, but it also has to be connected to your router to the internet, right? So everything's a juggling act. Nothing's simple. All right, we talked about iPhone plans. Oh, by the way, the iPhone 4S at Walmart is $39 right now. So, but with a 2-year contract. Before I get to free Wi-Fi internet, let's talk about the new phones. Okay, September 10th. Just for you guys, I'm going to make sure I'm there to, or not there, I'm make sure I'm online to watch. Actually, it's going to be an interesting day for me because I'm going down and watching the America's Cup that day. But my friend who I'm going with, he and I always go to Macworld together, and his wife's got to work, so we're going down there, and he's a sailor, so we're going to get all the information on the keynote, or about the Apple event happening on September 10th on the way down, and the races don't start till about 1 o'clock, so we'll go over the new Bay Bridge and stuff. But it's kind of funny. We used to, when we went to Macworld before, in fact, when the iPhone was introduced, we're sitting there with our Palm Pilot and our phone that, like, couldn't text, you could barely get the internet on and stuff. And we're driving down there where we're listening to all the bloggers talking about what they're introducing and things like that. Now with an iPhone or an iPad, man, you've got it with us everywhere. And so he'll be driving and I'll be keeping up on all of the stuff. And Apple will post it, either they're going to broadcast it live, hopefully. That's what they did the last event they had. If not, it'll be available that afternoon. But we'll find out what new offerings they have on the iPhone. Don't expect new Macs. Don't expect Mavericks, and don't expect the Mac Pro. We think that's all going to happen in October. Okay? So right now we went from Lion to Mountain Lion. That's Mavericks. 10.9. Sorry. They ran out of cats, and they said Sea Lion wasn't what they wanted to do. So they, yeah, Siamese, the dual operating system.
How do you use your iPad and all that in the car? Do you have a...
With Siri while I'm driving? No. I know what you're saying. Let me get to that in just 1 sec. Let me finish talking about the event. That's the next thing we're going to talk about. So I will just keep, it'll be on the news and digest it. And what will generally happen is, the way it worked last year is they announced it on a Tuesday. Apple it's always the Tuesday after Labor Day. We will probably be able to download the iOS 7 sometime a week to 10 days after that. And on let me pull up my calendar. So the iPhone event is the 10th, right here. And more than likely, the phone will be, the iOS will be able to download somewhere in here, and we think this will be when the phone will actually be launched. So at midnight, Thursday night, you'll be able to order whatever the new iPhone is, okay? But it doesn't mean your current iPhone's bad. If you've got an iPhone 4, yeah, upgrade. If you have a 4S and you're upgrade eligible, yeah, upgrade, because you're going to sell your phone for what you pay for the new one. If you have an iPhone 5, you're not upgrade eligible because that phone is a year old. There you go. That brings up another point, Apple Care. Apple Care is Apple's extended warranty for devices. They have Apple Care Plus for your iPhone. And the way it works is your iPhone normally has a 1-year warranty. But if you drop it in the water, first of all, if you drop your phone in the water and you go into Apple and you say to the genius, it just stopped working. I don't know what happened to it. It just stopped working one day. Well, did you get it wet? Oh, no, I didn't. So then he gets his little flashlight and looks down the headphone jack and where you charge it, and this little white disc is now turned red. And there's about 7 other ones inside it. So he'll know that you dropped it. And actually you better tell him whether you dropped it just in a sink or in the sewer, because he might want to touch it. But be honest to him. They have a tremendous amount of latitude. And remember, to replace that phone would be $650, right? More than likely, they'll do the right thing and give you it for the subsidized price of $199. Okay? They're good about that, especially if it's under the warranty period. The warranty does not cover cracked glass or things that are dropped. But you can buy Apple Care Plus for $99, and that gives you an extra year of warranty. So you have a 2-year warranty on it, and it does include damage. Obviously, it can't include if it's stolen or lost, but it will include damage, including water, cracked screen, etc. with the two caveats of it's a $50 deductible when they replace it for you, and you can only do it twice in that 2-year period. To talk about the Apple geniuses, it was I had just gotten the phone. The phone was like 14 days old. I always put my phone in a case. In fact, I pre-ordered my case for my phone and my screen protector. Human hands have never touched any of my phones. They always are covered. Well, I have this here, or I had it in my car, and I got out of my car, and the area where I parked was this gravel, kind of big rock gravel thing, and a piece of paper went to blow in the wind. I went to catch it. My phone goes, my phone fell on the ground. I've never dropped my phone. Anyway, I got the case. I go, oh man, I kind of scratched my case a little here. Ah, shoot. Okay, well, I put it away. 2 days later, I'm taking a picture, and it just didn't come out right. And I look on the back of my phone, and right next to my camera, the glass, not the camera, but the actual piece of this and the aluminum right next to it, even though it was in a full plastic case, broke the glass and punched the aluminum in a little bit. So I go, after I stopped cussing and was mad at myself, and luckily it turns out that was not the issue I was having with my camera. Just the sight, what I was doing on the camera wasn't good right then. So I go to Apple. I'm within the first 14 days. And I say, look, here's what happened. I always cover it. I'm totally honest with the guy. I'm saying, can I buy Apple Care Plus now? The phone was working, except it had a crack. But I threw myself at the mercy of him, and I say, you know, here's what happened. Is that a possibility? And he had already started formulating that in his mind. He let me buy Apple Care Plus for $99. I actually had the option of spending $169 right then and getting it replaced and then still having my two deductibles available, so it would have been a total of 3. Would have cost me an extra like $130. But I said, no, I'm really good with my phone, and it's working. So to this day, I still have it with that problem. And when I get my iPhone 5S, I will then take this in, pay my $50 deductible, and have him give me a brand new phone, which will make my phone even more marketable. Now, I'm unsure whether the Apple Care Plus will extend to my new phone or whether it'll do with this, because obviously it'll help my resale value on the phone if it's with this or if it's on the new phone. But if you talk to them and just, you know, the geniuses have a ton of latitude. You've seen it. The people come in, well, you've got to do this for me. You know, come on. The guy doesn't have to do anything, the guy or the girl. So, go ahead.
Is it better to buy a phone through the store?
As soon as you started doing that, I kind of figured this question. Okay. Doesn't matter where you buy your phone. To Apple sold that phone. Whether it's your laptop, you bought it at Best Buy, whether you bought the iPhone at the Verizon store, or you bought it at Walmart. Apple does such a good job of supporting you when you've bought something from Apple. Whether it be the Apple Store or not, that doesn't even show on their radar. Makes no difference. They stand behind it really well. They take care of stuff not in warranty. I mean, they're really, really good. Use them. They're a great resource for that. I mean, that's why Apple has such loyalty, and you can't cite another company that goes out of their way that much for it.
What about the Best, we actually bought Best Buy
Insurance?
insurance. What did you think of that?
Well,
Because they were saying things like they're not limited to the 2
is it in writing?
Pardon?
Is it in writing?
Oh.
He'll tell you anything.
Yeah.
The way I look at his extended warranties, except for Apple Care, be as cautious as if you were buying a used car from someone you don't know, without Carfax. Best Buy's warranty. Now, see, the problem with Best Buy's warranty is, and many of these others is, they'll do somewhat, but at some point they'll say, well, we'll just reimburse what you paid for the warranty. Sometimes they have that caveat in there. So you paid $100 for a warranty, let's say. Well, we'll just give you they'll give you the price of the phone you paid back or something like that. It's a real minefield, and they make, you got to follow the money. They're not selling those warranties for your benefit. They're selling those warranties because that's a great markup item. And if it didn't make them money, Now, insurance companies make money too. And the other thing is it's just, I'm leery of it. You could buy it at Best Buy and walk over to Apple, as long as it's within the first 14 days of the phone, and say, I want to purchase AppleCare. Because Apple is happy to sell you money. And remember, Apple's the main provider, so for them to provide you with a refurb phone costs a lot less than anybody else. So they amortize that over it, and I think it's quite fair. Plus, they're just clean about it.
It used to be you could only have access to one-to-one Genius Bar if you bought your Apple in the store.
Still is.
It still is.
So one-to-one, it's only if you buy a Mac product. It doesn't work on iOS devices. I encourage everyone, even though it's what I do is teach and help, and then $99 per year, you can go visit the Genius for an hour once a week or less, and it's a great benefit. But you can only get it if you bought it from Apple. And you know, Apple doesn't play that card too often. The only reason they limit it, they used to open it to everybody. They didn't want to cut Best Buy out or cut Fry's out. The problem was this program was so successful, they had to find some way to limit it, and this was their only way to really realize they could limit it. But you know, you go in there, you go buy an iPhone at Walmart, go into the Apple store, they'll sit with you and set your phone up. They'll cover your contacts over. I mean, it's the services. You can't say enough about it. And I mean, that's why we're all Apple people, right?
But if you buy it at Walmart, you can't get Apple Care?
Not at Walmart. You can go.
No,
You can take it to Apple and get Apple Care. Yes, as long as you have the phone. If it's like brand new, they'll look at it and say they want to sell you Apple Care because that Apple Care store, the amount of Apple Care they sell, that works in their matrix, or their matrix to how they're doing. In other words, if they sell a lot of Apple Cares, that's a gold star for them to Apple.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like it's not like the person gets more or anything else. It's just one of those matrices that they use to figure out how things are.
Is there an Apple Care for something other than a computer? Apple computer?
Apple Care Plus for an iPhone. And there's regular Apple Care on the iPad. I'm not sure if they do Plus or not. So the Apple Care, I think you can get regular Apple Care on the phone for $99. For $59, $49 or $59. It extends it 1 year, but it doesn't give you the damage protection. Apple Care in these, it's not damage. It's just from failures. All right. We all have devices, laptops, iPads, and we want to be connected. We're going, let's say we're taking a RV trip, or you're going on a bus trip, or a train, or you're going somewhere. You go to a hotel and they charge $10 a night or $15 a night for Wi-Fi. You can get free wireless internet hotspot. First of all, the majority of people that have iPhones can use this as a Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, what a Wi-Fi hotspot is everybody has an airport or some router at home sitting up on the shelf, and that's connected to your internet, right? Your phone can do the same thing. It brings it in over the cell and then becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot for your devices, up to 5 to 8 devices. But depending on your carrier and your plan, you're either going to get charged for the data or you're going to get charged $20 a month for that service. But it's not contract. You can activate it and deactivate it month by month. This can sit in my pouch here, and I can be connected with my MacBook Pro. But there's a cost to that. That's kind of the business models most of these cell phone carriers are going to now. They're giving you unlimited text and talk because they know that everybody's using internet now, so they're starting to charge you for your data. So they don't care how you use your data because they want you to use more data because you have to buy more data. So that's the hotspot with that. There's another. Let me get this one that I had open earlier. Freedom Pop. You buy the Wi-Fi device. This uses the Sprint network, by the way. You buy this device for anywhere from $40 to $100. This is a refurb one. I've got links if you guys email me, or I'll try to put links on the website. But You buy this device and you get 500 megabytes of data for free per month. Or if you want to get 2 gigabytes of data, which is good to be really versatile, you pay 20 bucks a month is all. But you pay for the device. There's no contract because you've paid for the device. Freedom Pop, freedompop.com. And I'll have a specific link that takes it to this MiFi. In fact, you guys should email me, or I'll put the link on. Somebody email me right now or after the class, say, Ken, put the link up for the Freedom Pop MiFi, and I'll put it when I post all the thing. It's a direct thing to this. I think it's $39.99 and a $5 fee, and then you can, like for the first month, sign up for the $20 deal, and then after that you can download it, you can downspec it to free 500 megabytes a month. And what happens is it uses the Sprint network, so it can sit right here, and I can connect up to 8 devices to it. iPhone, iPad, laptop.
Is that better than using your phone as a hotspot?
Not if you're having to pay here, because this is going to be cheaper. But if you have that capability, I have an old legacy AT&T unlimited plan. I can't tether from my phone. This is called tethering. I can't. But it depends on how much you're paying for the data. The other thing is like in your case, you might be the one tethering, and Chuck might be, you guys are out, you're down in Arizona, and he might be up at the store and wants to check something on an iPad or on his laptop, and your phone's back where the trailer is, so he's not going to be able to use it. So it's just another option. It's really good. They are also coming out with a free cellular phone service in the not too distant future. You'll pay for the phone, and then they'll give you so much amount of data and phone calls per month. So it's a really neat business model.
You said that Sprint will Verizon work on it?
Nope. You're paying Freedom Pop for the service, so you don't care who they're connected to. I'm just letting you know it's using Sprint. Okay? So we've got times for questions. I'm sure there'll be a few. Go ahead.
Off the subject though, that you mentioned the ComPad, did you ever use the Pocket Quicken?
No, I don't use Quicken at all. Actually, speaking of Quicken type things, those of you that want, I'll tell you, this is the greatest thing going. It's on, write down mint.com. I have the Mint app on my iPhone, on my iPad. Let me see if I can get logged in. And I don't mind. So what Mint does is, you know how if you you got Wells Fargo, you got Chase, you got credit card, you got to go to each of those websites to check, did that thing clear? What's my accounts? What do I want to do? Mint.com is an aggregator. I add whatever accounts I want to mint.com, and it checks them. And I can't do any transactions there, so I don't care if anybody gets into it. My account numbers do not show up, they're masked, and it only shows transactions. Since I can't connect these others, actually I might, let's do this. I'm gonna, nope, because that'll screw up the recording. Let me see here. Hopefully I remember my password. All right, I'm in. So these are my accounts, and I can add any account I want. So here's my credit union account. Here's my credit card, okay? So if I click on my credit card, come on. It's taking a while. It'll show me my transactions. There they are. There's my transactions. But the best part is, I occasionally, I got gas at the Rayleigh's aisle 1, and it wants to say that's groceries. Well, I went in and categorized it as gas. I can get a printout of this. It can make budgets. It's totally free. And it's safe because you can't make transactions. It's a snapshot. And I don't have to log into all these different accounts. I can, and then how they make their money is they'll send you an email or reminder every so often. You know, you paid $6 in bank fees this month. If you use an Ing account, you won't have bank fees. Just little things like that. They're not obtrusive at all. They're owned by Intuit, which is who Quicken is, and they don't have the direct connection to the bank. What happens, there's this intermediary that everybody uses that can't do transactions, and it's the safe trusted. It's trusted by the bank, and it's trusted by Quicken. Mint.com, and like I say, on the iOS device, I can update it right here and say, oh, that check did clear. Okay, good. I go, check. Who uses checks? That credit card, you know, my payment went in, or, oh yeah, that bill. Or I had one, I don't, if you have PG&E, they just changed their new thing. We go to my bank and it's called Web PGANDE Webcand. It's like what the or Gand, and it's the banks had a lot of calls on it, but it was, you know, I have hardly any gas. I mean, it was a very small amount. I thought somebody had hacked it, but it was started in June. PG&E changed what their on their automatic deposits or automatic withdrawals, what it was called. So I was just able to check it out from that. So Mint is wonderful and it's free.
And these are only electronic transactions?
Well, actually, what I can do is so if I want to write a check here, or if I want to do a cash transaction, I can go into Mint and say, oh yeah. So it's again like it's a record keeping thing. I can say, oh yeah, I just made a cash payment to so and so, and then it categorizes it. But the best part is it really comes in handy when it's tax time.
And you can get an annual report, a monthly report?
Yeah, however you want the report to be. And again, you can modify the categories, and you can put notes. You can put notes in different things. Like let's say here's Groupon. That's uncategorized. So I click on that, and here I have different categories, and I can put notes in it too. Yeah, actually, it was the 7-Eleven was the one. It was gas. I go 7-Eleven, and I realized I had gotten gas at a 7-Eleven station. So.
Ken, quick question about your hotspot thing. If you're traveling in an area that normally is really hard to get wireless access, will this provide? You have to have that already.
Because it's coming from the cellular provider. In this case, it's Sprint. So it depends on how the Sprint coverage is there. But it will not improve that at all. But what it does do is it makes it so you're not having to use the other part of that. So. All right. Questions, keep coming. It's about you guys have. Oh, it's time. All right. Thank you. Oh, let's stop the recording. Don't forget, kenspencer.com. The recording will be there for you.
Quick question.
One sec.